Hi guys, Ali Maxwell here. The following clip is a section taken from Zonal Marking, which is the podcast that I host alongside the Athletics tactics guru, Michael Cox. And you can listen to the rest of that weekly show for free wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, ad-free when you subscribe to The Athletic. Hope you enjoy it. Let's talk about him as a goal scorer, because such goal-scoring numbers as we basically had never seen from someone playing in his position, and certainly are pretty much unrivaled by anyone not named Cristiano Ronaldo. We've kind of become accustomed to it, haven't we, Tom? There was the calendar year where he hit 90 goals. It just became so routine that I think we almost need to take a step back and teach ourselves again how ridiculous this footballer is in terms of goal scoring. What can you wow me with stats-wise?
When I was trying to find a good kind of comparison for Messi, I didn't think the name that I'd come to would be Papi Cisse at Newcastle. But Cisse, albeit in kind of slightly limited minutes, but he played over 1,000 minutes in 11-12, scored 13 goals and was a rate of around kind of 1.05 goals per 90. And in terms of the Premier League in the past 10 years, that's kind of the best record that we have for players with just over 1,000 minutes played. And Messi's kind of absolutely kind of nowhere near that in terms of he's just miles ahead. And I just thought it's crazy that this is, even though we're bending the statistical boundaries a little bit to wrangle in Cisse's name, that's the best record we have. If you look at the Mo Salah 17-18 season, he scored 31 non-penalty goals, and that equated to kind of 0.96 goals per 90. And that's probably the more better record, because Salah's played more goals and that less of them are impacted by substitute appearances. But Messi's equaled or eclipsed that record, 6 times in the past 10 seasons. So it's just absolutely kind of in a league of his own, and it's really tough to compare Premier League scorers to him, just because the number of goals he scored is crazy and incomparable, really.
I can't believe you could possibly beat a goal-scoring stat that includes Papi Cisse in it, Michael. But do you have a favourite Messi goal-scoring statistic?
Yeah, I do. I've almost become slightly immune to the Messi goal-scoring numbers just because they're so sensational. And whenever he reaches a milestone, whether it's 600 goals or 700 goals or whatever, I'm always slightly surprised he just hasn't done it already, because he scores so much. But my favourite Messi stat, and I just think this is the best Messi stat by a distance, is what he did midway through 2012-13, where he scored in 19 games in a row against every other side in La Liga, which is just ridiculous. You can score a lot of goals over a long period of time, but usually you have off days. And he just 19 games in a row, he scored against literally everyone else in the league. And I'm a bit surprised that this isn't just held out as by far the best statistic, the best thing anyone's achieved as an individual in terms of scoring goals. It's absolutely sensational. I'm just going to read out the list of names now, just to exaggerate it. Mallorca, Zaragoza, Levante, Athletic Bilbao, Real Betis, Atletico Madrid, Valladolid, Espanyol, Malaga, Real Sociedad, Osasuna, Valencia, Getafe, Granada, Sevilla, Real Madrid, Deportivo, Rayo Vallecano and Celta Vigo. And the good thing is, for the 20th game, he was out injured. So he would have, had he got injured a game early, he would have not achieved this thing that probably no one will ever achieve in history again. But he just managed to get it in before he got a hamstring injury against PSG. Although if you do take his own La Liga games, when he returned with 2 substitute appearances, he did score 2 more goals in 2 games. So he ended on, 21 games in a row he scored personally. But that streak of 19 in a row against every other opponent, I just think is unbeatable.
Unbelievable. Mark Ramprakash springs to mind there. If anyone wants a cricket football crossover, man who scored a county championship ton against every other county possible. Let's move on swiftly. Michael, the phrase false nine is closely associated with Leo Messi. Fair to say he's really held up as the pioneer of this role in this. It was something new in football at the time. Do you think it's fair to say that he was the first, the pioneer?
Yeah, I think in the modern era, he was really. I mean, there was other players who played it. In a historical sense, you can go back and find examples from Hungary in the 1950s if you want. You can look at Johan Cruyff playing up front for Ajax and Holland. in Barcelona terms, Michael Laudrup to a certain extent was doing a similar thing in the start of the 1990s. And okay, there had been, Francesco Totti, I think, had done that very well for Roma in a kind of, they stumbled upon that solution when a couple of other players were out injured. But I think the way Messi did it to play at that level for so long and so consistently, and to be in this unusual situation where he almost convinced the rest of Europe that, okay, you don't need to play a centre forward up front, but also was scoring more goals than anyone during that period. He kind of married the number 10 and the number 9 roles in a way that I don't think anyone else would be capable of doing. So, yeah, I think just in terms of maybe didn't pioneer it, but certainly popularised it. I think it's, even now there's been a few copycats, but no one else has really been able to play it in such a complete way as Messi.
Does anyone get close? We sometimes mention the phrase false nine when talking about Roberto Firmino, for example. Pep Guardiola has attempted to use some different City players in that role. Anything you've seen that comes anywhere near Messi's interpretation of the false nine?
No, I really don't think anyone else gets there. I mean, as I've said previously, I think Firmino, at times he's been a proper nine, and at times he's been very much a false nine. He hasn't necessarily done the two at once, certainly not on a consistent period of time. I mean, I guess the other player who I would say has done it, not necessarily on a consistent basis, but at the highest level, would be Cesc Fabregas in terms of Spain winning Euro 2012. I mean, Fabregas never played there really for his club, but under Del Bosque, Spain kind of went through a few iterations of the different centre forwards up front. But in the final of Euro 2012 against Italy, they returned to Fabregas playing up there, and he did it in a very different way to Messi. He actually, I would say, almost became a makeshift centre forward rather than an out-and-out false nine dropping deep and linking play. But I would say that's maybe the most significant example in terms of the history of tactics, partly because there was a great period where Messi and Fabregas were playing up front for Barcelona together, the start of 2011-12 when Fabregas had first come back to Barcelona. And Guardiola was playing almost 3 at the back, 3 up front and a dime in midfield, with Fabregas as the number 10 and Messi as the number 9, and they're interchanging, and their rotation of positions, their interplay was, I think, maybe the most electric football that Barcelona played under Guardiola. Didn't last long, but was really fantastic when it happened. So, yeah, Fabregas is the other name I'd mention if in 50 years someone wants to know about what false nines were all about at this time.
Michael, where do you think that Mario Götze fits in on that? Do you think he's similar at all or not?
Yeah, I mean, he's a funny one. I guess we almost have to speak of his career as something of a disappointment, which is a great shame considering his talent, and of course the fact he scored the winner in a World Cup final, which for any other player I think you would say, well, that's enough glory to last a career. But yeah, it was clear Guardiola went there to Bayern and wanted Götze to be his man in that role. I just don't think Götze was really up to it at that point, and his development, I think, has been quite stilted for various reasons. And of course, Guardiola then went to a completely different system, really, where he brought in Robert Lewandowski, obviously another player from Dortmund. And Lewandowski is an interesting one because you wouldn't consider him a false nine in terms of his stature, in terms of his height, and also in terms of his goal-scoring ability. But I think in terms of linking play and doing those kind of false nine things, he's probably as good as anyone has been at that during the last 5 or 6 years. So, yeah, I mean, Guardiola is an interesting one. I think as well, when he went to Manchester City, he wasn't completely convinced about Aguero because Aguero just went in behind. And Aguero, I think, has had to bring more elements of his game compared to how he first was at Manchester City. And Aguero, again, I think is interesting because he started out being considered like a second striker, almost a number 10. I mean, he's always worn number 10 rather than number 9. So maybe had Aguero come through at Barcelona and been coached by Guardiola at an earlier stage of his career, we would have considered him a different type of player. But certainly he doesn't come close to Messi in terms of the dribbling and in terms of the assisting and all the other things we talk about in the article.
So the dribbling was pretty evident almost immediately when Messi started playing for Barcelona's first team. That the goal scoring was not far behind. We understood that this was an elite goal scorer fairly swiftly. Tom, what about creatively in terms of assists? When did Messi start to put up serious numbers as an elite assister?
Yeah, it was around 07-08 again when he's bumped up around half an assist game on average, and before that, I mean, his numbers were really low even for kind of an attacking midfielder or a forward. He was averaging essentially 1 assist in 10 games, and then shot up to 1 in every 2. But yeah, his best season for assists was 10-11, and he was averaging just again over half an assist a game, and the numbers have kind of fluctuated season on season, and he's never really dropped down too low. But I just think that it's interesting that assisting seems to have come with kind of a positional change, and also around the time when he's starting to build kind of better partnership down the right hand side. I think when Dani Alves moved there, especially, I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but the number of kind of 1-2s he looks to play, and the way that kind of builds space for Messi to then move into and kind of pull apart defences from there really impacts his ability to create chances for his teammates.
This is a player who has a 5-goal haul to his name in a Champions League game against Leverkusen in 2012. Michael, in terms of assists as well, as far as I can see on the website Transfermarkt, there are 3 separate occasions in La Liga, one in 2010, one in 2011, and one in 2018, in which Messi has scored 3 goals and assisted 2 further goals in a game for 5 total. 2 of those games finished 8-0, and the other one, the perfect game for me, 5-0 win against Levante in 2018. 3 goals and 2 assists for Messi. Which games in particular stand out for you when you think about Messi as a creator?
Well, it's probably going quite a way back, but it's going back to 2010-11. And I'd say this is where we've kind of established that Messi is a great goal scorer as well as a great dribbler. And there's a period where he scores in 5 games in a row. I think he scored 10 in those 5. And it's just before Clásico. So this is the famous Clásico, the 5-0, Mourinho's first Clásico, the game where Barcelona absolutely destroy Real. And they score 5 goals and Messi doesn't score any of them. But he does get 2 brilliant assists for David Villa. Very similar kind of passes, classic false nine, if you like, coming deep, dragging the centre-backs with him and just playing a ball between centre-back and full-back and Villa running through and finishing. And yeah, I think that's when I realised, okay, this is a player who is not just a great dribbler and a goal scorer, but it's someone who can play passes probably as well as anyone in Europe. And you know, I think on the back of that, I wrote an article, you know, this is a long time ago now, but saying, okay, Messi's now a great dribbler, assister and a goal scorer. And obviously a few years on, we've been able to add things for that as well. So, yeah, there was a game, I can't remember who it was against last year, but Barcelona had 20 shots in the game. Messi took 12 of those shots and created the other 8. So, you know, at times he's basically just doing it all himself.
Unbelievable.